Sam, that is what the residents on the Gulf think. Let's check in with our political strategist. We are joined by Donna, Brazile, our contributor, also Ari Fleischer, former press secretary to George W. Bush. Welcome to you both. And it really seemed like two different speeches to me. You had one speech where the president addresses the spill and the leak and how he's going to restore the Gulf, and a second speech on energy policy. The president knitted them together. Let's talk about the first one first. How did he do, Ari? Did the president get in front of this crisis?
You can't get in front of a crisis, even though this one is not of his own making. He didn't cause that leak, but it's 50 days too late. You know, an Oval Office address works best when you get ahead of the crisis, when you anticipate what's happening in terms of follow-up reaction, fixing it, and you inform the nation. 50 days ago, I think it's a speech that would have worked. Last night, it seems as if it just faded into the night.
Well, I thought the president thought to reassure the American people that he has a battle plan for action, that he understands the steps that will be needed in order to contain the spill, as well as to restore the Gulf once everything is cleaned up. I thought it was a very important speech because we're at a critical moment in the developments that are taking place down south. People are now worried about the oil coming ashore. They're worried about their livelihood. They're worried about the long-term economic impact. And I think the president today will also add a little bit more ingredients to what I believe he laid out last night by saying how much money will be put aside to ensure that Gulf Coast residents are made whole.
He said he would inform BP how much money they're going to put aside. Very strong martial language there. And Ari, you know, the president did lay out a number of steps he was taking in this battle plan last night, sort of crystallizing everything he's done. One possible risk I saw, the president saying that 90% of the oil will stop coming out of that leak by the end of June.
Well, that caught my attention, too. You know, there was King Canute who said the waves are going to stop, and he ordained it so. When President Obama said that, I just wonder, how does he know that? Where is that coming from? But I think the real problem here is the American people, and especially those in the region, want to know, how do we fix the leak? They're less worried about putting a man on the moon when it comes to energy policy, and they want the well capped. There still is that disconnect. I thought it was a leap too far to something, frankly, very unpopular that even Democrats in Congress won't support.
Well, that's what I want to get to next. Of course, the president is betting that the cap is going to become under control. But you did have the second portion of the speech, Donna, on energy policy. Listen to what Senator Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, had to say about it. He said the president should spend more time focusing on cleaning up and containing the oil spill and less time trying to pass a national energy tax that will drive jobs overseas looking for cheap energy. Of course, the president didn't say cap and trade. But at the same time, Donna, the president is getting hit from liberals in his own party who are saying they wanted to hear more about climate change. They wanted a bolder plan.
That's why I thought the speech was excellent, because he didn't please either side, and he was, again, trying to reassure the American people. I think what the president was saying was that 90% of the oil will be contained, not capped. I mean, he cannot split the sea and cap the well. That will take a little bit more technology and time, and hopefully the relief wells are on track to, the two wells are on track to stop the spill in itself. But in terms of the energy policy, George, we don't have an energy policy. We've been looking for an energy policy for the last 40 years. We've had two major energy disasters this year, the situation in West Virginia and now in the Gulf. We need to find ways to have clean energy technology. And if the Senate cannot walk and chew gum, well, I think
the votes aren't there right now in the Senate.
That's the problem. Even Democrats don't like it because it really doesn't deal with just getting alternative energy sources. It gets into this whole notion of taxing, so we increase the price of energy, and a cap and trade, very complicated mechanism. It's a bridge too far. So I think when you look at what we hope for from President Obama, if this speech had been given a long time ago, it would have worked. The problem is, when the alarm went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got the sense that he hit the snooze button. He didn't jump on this crisis as soon as it began, and he's had a hard time recovering since. And I'll defend him on the sense that it wasn't his fault. He didn't cause it. But as president, you want the president to quickly move to rally. That's been lacking.
Let's get to the bottom line on the politics of this, Donna. You know, we have this frustration index here, which we've shown based on our polling about Americans' feelings about government and incumbents and the president. It's pretty high right now, 67%. That's a rate at which incumbents are going to lose in big numbers. Bottom line, how much Is this issue going to matter in November, and how much did this speech help?
Well, it's like humidity, the frustration index. It comes on really strong, but it normally evaporates after a cold spell. I do think that the Democrats will be able to rally the base and to be able to close the enthusiasm gap, and this election season will not be as volatile as most people predict it will be. But I also think that the president has not been given credit, or the federal government, because in the first couple of days after the leakage, their number one objective was to go and try to save lives. This was a very, very terrible crisis, and his first reaction was to save lives, not to jump through the politics.
Well, I just don't think it worked. I think when you're the president, people really look to you to capture the sentiment of the country, to get ahead of what's next, and it was as if he delegated this out to the cabinet instead of taking it on himself. It's a tough call, because what president does want to rush in, he missed an opportunity on this one.
Okay, Ari Fleischer, Donna Brazile, thanks very much. And